Hello, and welcome to Simple Blind Luck. I am Blind Luck, and I'll be your guide dog on our little adventure. Alrighty, folks, today we'll talk about something that really, it's kind of an oddity I've noticed. One of the many oddities I've noticed with going blind. It probably applies more so when you go blind a little later on. But after I'd gotten out of the hospital, I ended up going to the Commission for the Blind for adjustment training. And one of the things that they taught me was Braille. Now, I took to Braille fairly well, and I really enjoyed it. But the funny thing is, I didn't think of it as, oh, you're blind, you need to learn this. It was more of, I'm learning this secret language that other people can't read. And I just really enjoyed it from that aspect. But early on, in the beginning, as you can imagine, I have this workbook I would take home, and it had these very, very basic 2, 3, maybe 4-letter words in Braille, and would go over and practice. And there was one day in particular, I was working on it, and I came across something that I just could not figure out whatsoever. And I was really confused, because it was literally 3 letters. Now, these 3 letters, I could actually identify them. I knew what each of the 3 letters were, but I could not pronounce it and make a word. And it was driving me crazy, and it just made me feel so dumb. Because I knew that I knew it, but for whatever reason, it just wouldn't come to me. And this was especially vexing to me because I always excelled in school, but especially anything that came to do with English, reading, language arts. So the fact that this created such an issue, it was a real problem. So I'm sitting there working on it, just trying and trying. And finally, after nearly 30, 45 minutes of just beating my head against the wall, I go and I very sheepishly ask somebody, what word is spelled T-W-O? And they told me, obviously, it's 2. But I felt like a moron because I know I knew that word. I was able to identify the letters. I just couldn't figure it out. So the next time I went back to the Braille instructor, I mentioned this to him. And he actually had some very helpful insight. You see, he had been in a very similar situation in the sense he was not born blind. It happened later on in life. So he learned to read and write sighted. And he said that's where a big part of the problem is, because we don't really think about it. But other than just phonics, when we're learning to read, you actually kind of learn to identify the image that certain characters make to form words. You learn to identify that image as well as sounding out the phonics of it. And because I had grown up learning to read this way, but I no longer had the visual image to see what image that word kind of made that was hanging me up a little bit. And he said it will just happen on occasion. It happened to him on occasion. And it's just one of the little fun things of becoming blind later on. But I know prior to this, I had never considered it, imagined it, or anything. I just kind of figured, well, if you know how to read, then you don't need to see it. As long as you can identify the characters, then you're good. But there's an extra little wrinkle in there. But I thought I would just share that today just because I thought it was kind of interesting and neat. I will leave you with On the Bright Side. And for today, we have, yeah, I'm blind. But on the bright side, those old fighting movies that are dubbed in English, they used to be very irritating to me, but now I don't mind that the words don't sync up to the voice. You know, kind of the, I'm going to fight you. But on that note, I will leave you. And until next time, I will hear you later.